What's up, you guys? So we on our I'm on my Pokemon arc right now, right? I just want to talk about Pokemon. So one big thing is regions. Now, I ain't gonna talk about all the regions. I'm only gonna talk about the ones that are my favorites. All right. One thing I always like, right, when it comes to regions, is how there's so many different regions, and everybody has started with their own. Like, for example, if you played Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald as a kid, you were more focused on the Hoenn region, and the Hoenn region was your very first region that you got to see and explore. If you started with Fire Red and Leaf Green, Kanto was your first region. If you're old school, then Kanto was your first region with Red, Blue, and Yellow. If you got Gold, Silver, and Crystal, your first region was Johto. Now, me personally, my first region ever was Johto in the games, but of course Kanto in the show. You know what I'm saying? But Johto, when I was a kid, was like magical. When I played Crystal, Gold, and Silver as a kid, and it was funny because I played all the Pokemon games pretty close together in the same like 2-3 years. I pretty much played every single one. It's kind of funny. But I got Gold version from this lady that I used to call the guinea pig lady, because it was this lady who was like, I want to say she probably back in the day, she was like 45 or something, and her daughter was like 30, I think, something like that, or like 27 or something. And her daughter was like a super big nerd and had all this anime stuff. And her mom, after a while, got tired of looking at it and was like, "You got to sell all that stuff." Like, cause she had rooms and rooms full of, like, her room was so full of it, she didn't have nowhere to really like sit. She had so much stuff. So her mom got to the point where she was like, "Okay, you got to start selling all this stuff." So she sold me Gold version. It didn't save. It didn't have a sticker, for like $7. And then she also gave me the Game Boy, a Game Boy Advance. I still have it. It's like a black Game Boy. She gave it to me for like $10. But before I used that one, I had like a light blue Game Boy Advance SP, and the screen on it was like broken, so the light sometimes would go dark because it was like sitting in my mom's closet. I had lost it for like 2 years and then found it. It was so weird, and then it ended up getting broken. I ain't gonna tell you the story why. But basically, that was my first Pokemon game. So I was like obsessed with Pokemon Gold. And what I used to do is I would leave it on the charger, leave the SP on, because I already knew that the battery, that it would just keep resetting the game if you turned it off. But I remember being so obsessed with Johto. And it's funny because it's like the Pokemon games, the locations are so simple, but you get so obsessed with it. It's like weird because as a kid, you're like literally picturing yourself inside the video game walking around. Like you are the main character. You know what I'm saying? So it just makes it more fun to explore, even though the whole game is super simple. This is also another thing I noticed too, is that the regions in the show and the regions in the game are similar but different. The ones in the show, they add in all these like extra locations that aren't in the video games. And I remember as a kid, I wish they would have like remastered the games with all the locations that Ash went to. That would have been so freaking interesting just to see that. Um, but we always like, one main thing that was always exciting to me is just the new Pokemon you would see on every route, and then the new gym leader you would see, and then seeing, you know what I'm saying, like who was the legendary Pokemon that you were gonna get. Because as a kid, even though you seen it in the movies and stuff, you didn't know what was going to happen in the games because you haven't played the games. You know what I'm saying? And that was my first game. And I remember beating that whole game and then finding out that there was another region, which was Kanto, which blew my mind as a kid. It was like, there's two regions in this game? What the hell? That literally like blew my mind that you could do that. And I think the first time I played it, I didn't even know you could go to the other region. And then like the second time I played it, I knew. And then, okay, I'll do a part two.